Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. So we are here today with Tony Bartocci from Posture Interactive. Hi, Tony, how are you? If I could get a mic check, make sure you're all good.
I am good. Good afternoon.
Awesome. And I apologize to everybody for the fact that you can see up into my attic right now. We had a leak, so we are pivoting as the word for 2020 and 2021. We all know life does not go as planned. So I apologize for the aesthetic, but that's where we are today. So Tony, how are you today? Thank you so much for being here.
I'm very well. I'm super excited for this afternoon, and thank you for. I'm glad to kick off this series. By the way, I'm good though. I'm in good spirits.
Wonderful. We're so happy to have you here. So for those of you that have not attended one of our web series before, my name is Jocelyn Sturenchak. I am the Director of Economic Development for CAN BE, and I also manage the CAN BE Innovation Center. CAN BE is a proud member of THInC, the Hazleton Innovation Collaborative, which is a group of us. Some of our key partners are the Hazleton Chamber of Commerce, the Penn State Hazleton campus, as well as the Hazleton Launchbox, powered by Pasco Shivo, the Downtown Hazleton Alliance for Progress, the Hazleton Art League, and many more of us, including the SBDC and some of our regional partners. So without further ado, I'd love to turn it over to Tony, who's going to be talking to you all today about the importance of maintaining your digital footprint online.
Awesome. Yes, thank you. We have a great series over the next couple of weeks, and we thought it'd be really important to discuss the why before we go in and talk about all this great stuff that is the Google sphere, the importance of laying a good foundation and how that really can impact a lot of things as it relates to your business. So I am going to take the screen here. May I? All right. We all can see my screen? We're good?
Yep.
All right, cool. So, all right, so who are we? I work with an awesome team in downtown Scranton, Posture Interactive. We've been around for the last 10 years. We focus a lot in custom web development and design. We do a lot of branding and a lot of content development, digital marketing, a lot of things that move, a lot of video, motion graphics. And over the years, we really are always trying to refine our purposes and evolve to the best practices of that we launch these beautiful web products, but making sure that the whole package is taken care of. And that's really what we're going to talk about today. So today's chat is, it's a welcome. Hey, you're part of a multi-week series that I hope you join all of the series over the next couple of weeks, because there's really key points that I'm excited to also brush up some skills on. But today we're going to be talking about getting the digital house in order and just what is the digital house for you as it relates to your business. We're going to talk about some conundrums that happen in Google and how it evolved throughout the last couple of decades. I always love a good history lesson, and some stats here I think will really help drive home why it is of this craziness in this game that we're always changing and always adapting to, why that is, and how that's important to you. Of course, talking about reputation. I'm a big proponent of reputation management, what it means for your online digital footprint, and also what you can do to maintain that. So let's just jump right in. By the way, at any point throughout this of my ramble, I welcome you to use the QA part of your screen there, or the messaging. Jocelyn, any recommendations? Any which way, we'll see your messages. Just stop my ramble anytime, and we'll jump in there.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, Tony. I apologize. I have a dripping leak on the brain. So yes, anybody who is watching on Facebook Live or anybody who is on the Zoom link as you all are, feel free to drop questions in the chat or the Q&A at any time, and we'll be sure to filter them over to Tony. And yeah, there we go.
Great. Can we actually just do a QA check? And I would just love to know the types of businesses or the types of industries or the areas of which might be represented. So if you can if you're watching and you can find your little screen there, maybe just drop in the chat. I would love to know the context of people that we're talking with, and maybe some examples that I can apply to in live time throughout the next part of our session here. So if you want to just do that, we'll revisit it. You could chat throughout there. That'd be awesome. All right, so let's get started. Getting your digital house in order. So again, we're going to be going through this entire series talking about the variety of tools that Google offers. But let's talk about why we're actually caring about this digital house. And when I say digital house, I want to go through the science of what it is I'm talking about. Essentially, the whole house starts with the doorstep, right? So the digital footprint is what other people are essentially saying about you. And the shadow of how I classify it is what you say about yourself. So there's a way that Google specifically ranks these factors, which we're going to get into, and how that relates to the entire ecosystem, which is your business. And by the way, everything we're going to talk about today are all items that you don't need to hire a me. I mean, you can, but you don't need to hire a me to do yourself. You can do them yourself. They're essentially free tools that just need some love. The doorstep, just like the clothes that might be sitting on the ground or the dishes that need to be done, it just needs some extra love. Same thing is happening online, and although it could seem rather overwhelming at times, it's actually a lot of fun once you get a handle of it. So let's go into the parts of which make up what I call the actual doorstep itself. So Google reviews are really important. We're going to get talking about the prominence of, as if you told me something, I would say that I believe Jocelyn's recommendation versus something I just see, online or in the paper or something like that. I relate with friends more, and Google just wants to be your friend. So we're going to talk a lot about reviews and how that impacts the actual overall ecosystem. How Google relates that is with three items: relevance, distance, and prominence. We're going to get into that a little bit more here. So let's go back, which, by the way, if I could just go back, there are some new developments that were released last fall, which are taking place this spring as it relates to core web vitals and more insights of how Google is showing how to rank and show visibility to your business. They were introduced earlier this year and are basically designed to measure how users experience the speed, the responsiveness, and overall the visual sides of a page, just basically making it more mobile friendly, and how safe browsing works with security certificates, a whole other thing to worry about. But really, it just goes down to easy user experience online. And that not only goes for your website, but how people are finding you. And we can get into core web vitals more. I didn't want to get too geeky on you, but there is some evolution that's happening this spring, which is exciting in my world. But from a top level general standard, just making sure things are easy to use and easy to find. Okay, so let's go back a little bit in the history that is the Google, and to understand how we got to playing all of these games that is this random algorithms or whatever that you might be hearing in Google land, and understand how we just got here. So the history of local search really starts in the early 2000s. And with that, Google actually facing a pretty big dilemma. See, back then they realized they wanted to return local businesses in their local search queries, but the problem is that not a lot of websites actually had, well, businesses rather had websites, right? Because back in 2000, my God, a website, those web developers, them, they're just expensive, and how all this works, and it was just still fairly new back then. So Google was sitting and scratching their head and saying, okay, how do we get local businesses into our search results? So what they do? Well, just around the same time, and fortunately for Google, old school print directories, the original Yellow Pages, had started taking their own business data offline and started uploading this online into a variety of new online business directories. So this was pretty cool, right? Well, Google thought that, brilliant. Now, Google, has access to all of these local businesses in a structured data format that we can go out and crawl. all Google basically needs to do is crawl all the directories, store it in their own databases, and organize it, right? Okay, well, this led to a variety of things. Now, let's speed up to 2005, the launch of what we now know as, in the evolution, something in the Google Maps, the Google My Business sphere. Google does all this work and then launches this whole Google orb that's local right around 2005. We're going to get into Google My Business listings at one of the final, and I would say most awesome, Brian, if you're here, seminar parts in the Google My Business listing side later in a couple of weeks. So we'll talk about just a little bit about how that fits into this entire piece of the pie. Okay, so after Google launches the Google Maps, they had a new challenge. Now, this is where this is really important, talking about the actual doorstep. And I promise this all ties in, but I just find it really interesting. What makes this data that we're taking from all this stuff actually accurate, and how can we put trust into this data? So ultimately, how do I rank these local search results? If Google has got a website and lots of different data around a business, it's fairly easy for them to rank in their search results. But when Google doesn't really have a website for all these businesses and all it has is address information, they've got to come up with an entirely new algorithm to make this work. The only real data that Google has to go off of is a business name, an address, and a phone number. So let's look at one of my favorite places around in the area, Jocelyn's Sandwich Joint. I'm sure you've all been there. Delish items. So we know this about your business if I'm Google. I know this structured data of address, zip code, phone numbers. Okay, that's pretty good. But what is it with this data that we know actually makes sense? So on another site, you may be listing that Google may look for that it pretty much matches. It's not so crazy. Looking around for signals around the sphere of data, having a more complete profile on more pages helps Google infer if this is something that's accurate. Whoops, some conflicting information. Now, if your data is missing from a key directory, Google might, again, they just want to be your friend. So when Google has some conflicting information, just like if Jocelyn gave me a great recommendation for a restaurant that ended up being closed, well, that's not, so I'm not going to trust Jocelyn next time she tells me about that great restaurant, right? Google's doing the same thing. So it needs consistency is essentially the name of the game. Without the consistency, this really damages your performance and local visibility in search. All right. So it's not just Google that uses these trust signals. There's actually, not to overwhelm you, but there's a bunch. It's not just 3 or 4 that Google is constantly referring to, basically just trying to reconfirm your location data. So it's really important to make sure that you have a consistent data listing of all those basics throughout this sphere. Now, there's a variety of services and other services that we, as companies like mine provide this consistency, which we can talk about later. But these are all stuff that's public data that just needs some extra love. Back to, you could certainly do this yourself, even though there's a lot here that could seem like a lot, But why do you care? And how should you manage such a thing? So the first really reason to improve your visibility is that Google's local algorithm is constantly changing. So there's a standard in a company that basically goes out, and this company takes a survey of, I don't know, the top 40 or 50 local search engine optimization experts on the planet. And they ask them a series of questions that try to ascertain the movements of these algorithms, which, we don't really ever know the recipe. We get really close, but then, we updates in how people's habits work. So with these questions, we try to determine what the ranking factors are each year. Every year they go out and say, okay, what do you reckon to be the most important factors that Google and that secret recipe of the search algorithm is using? And in the most recent survey, it actually revealed that the experts believe, and which is something that guides this industry, that nearly 11% of all overall ranking factors for Google's local pack results, which is a version of what you're seeing here, that 3-pack, is a huge amount of influence that it has in the overall ratings. And this also has an impact on the localized organic results. These are the traditional blue links that you'll see below that, the local pack, and the actual search engine result. Basically, to summarize, it's going to dramatically improve your own visibility when you have this in order. Again, all things you can control. All right. So we've seen a huge change over the past 5 years in the power that the consumer voice has on every business. And this is why I'm obsessed in this reputation management sphere, because it's the difference between businesses that thrive and ones that really struggle. We all know, and maybe you've experienced reviews yourself, or you've provided them, or you've read them, that one tear down post makes something look like that business is absolutely horrible, even if that person was just having a bad day and it's completely untrue. We got to live in this ecosystem. And with that, we just have to be in a position to respond. The reason I care so much is that I work with a variety of partner clients that are quite vulnerable to this when not paying attention. And just to merely bring it to the attention to rise to the surface, as if someone came into your lobby, I always use this example, but if someone came into your lobby and was, screaming this or that or whatever, what would you do? You take them aside, you calm them down, you maybe take them into a room that wasn't in public, and you'd start talking through the situation and listen, but respond to what is going on. And the same thing needs to happen when you talk about online reviews and what is happening in that online chatter. All right. So the concept of reputation, really, it's nothing new, but with the evolution over the last several years of just better smartphone technology and really just the online adoption of reviews, the power of reputation has been amplified dramatically. Now, this was the galvanizing force in 2004 when Yelp launched. All of a sudden, it sounds so weird, by the way, to say all the way back in 2004, right? I don't know. But all the way back then, with Yelp, consumers started flocking to leave reviews for local businesses that they'd interact with. And really, it didn't take long for Googles and the Facebooks of the world to enter the online review space, leading to the mainstream adoption of what they are today. And reviews are everywhere, right? Everywhere. Okay. So the last 3 years has seen really an immense growth in the number of reviews left by consumers. The US alone has seen a growth of over 600%, showing that more consumers rather are leaving and reading reviews than ever before, and that this stuff is just going to keep on growing here. Okay, so the latest research showcases just how crucial your online reputation is for consumers. So basically, 97% of search online to find 97% of consumers search online to find a local business, while 95% of them read reviews for local businesses, and really just shows how integral the online search and reputation management are to this whole modern buying process. And I say modern because we've been doing this for a while, but there's still an evolution that's happening there. And then, it's really crazy that you get some feedback back in the day, relatively speaking, and it really is a new way of thinking that, of course, businesses, of course you care about your reputation, but maybe you just don't spend enough time in how it works online. So in the past, customer feedback would be limited to a very local circle. They'd say something bad, you move on and whatever. But now we live in a world where a single piece of feedback can be seen by anyone who looks at your business online, and the comments really could be there forever. Which is something that, again, a review that you can't necessarily change, but you can work to enhance the feeling overall around that. And we can address that as we move through this discussion here. So basically, we can break down the role of online reviews into a buyer's journey, basically to 3 aspects: discover, evaluate, and the trust. All right, first stage is discovery. So having more positive online reviews, you have a better chance of ranking higher in local searches on Google and basically other sites. This means more potential customers, and those customers are more likely to find your businesses that they're searching, and the one specifically for you. The next stage in the journey is evaluation, or as I call, stalking. Your customers might be evaluating you on Google, Yelp or the myriad of niche sites for your particular business, as a potential customer evaluates your listings and star ratings, they're also evaluating your competitors as well. So more often than not, they will reach out to the business with the best reputation. The benefit of online reviews is twofold. Your reviews are making you rank higher, and then really just increasing clicks and calls for activity to the business. And then trust. So finally, online reviews build trust in abundance. A business with a great online reputation will establish great trust with the prospect before really they've even spoke to them. So really, you'll not only rank higher, you'll get more clicks and calls. Customers will be easier to sell to because they'll know what it is, probably what they're buying before they even get there. And that's all in that ecosystem of reviews. So one thing you can't control is where your customers are finding you. I mean, of course, we know a large percent obviously is Google, but consider how to prospect and how maybe your potential other new clients would find you on these other sites that maybe are just out of focus. Google, by the way, for the purposes also not just for this series, but in general, is a high, we're talking 70s, 80% of a volume of search in general. But for these specific industries, people are going elsewhere, and it's important to keep that ecosystem accurate. And the unfortunate thing is that we know that reviews, as I've been saying for the last several moments, hold so much power. It's amazing to me, and again, back to why I'm terrified and excited by this topic all the time when I talk to my client partners, is that one review can make or break some things, and it's an unfair fight right from the get-go from a local business owner. And I think it's just a matter to have the tools to have a plan in place to respond, because we know that someone that is unhappy is a lot more likely. I'm sure there's a scientific percentage to leave a poor review than one that you just had the experience you intended from going in there. All right, so back to this joint. Oh my goodness, have you seen these sandwiches? They are just, oh. I didn't have lunch yet. I've been waiting for this. I didn't want to, get full before we had this beautiful discussion, but I am just delightfully excited for my next beautiful chicken sandwich from Jocelyn's sandwich joint. Let's look at this example though, and see if this person is managing honoring reputation or not correctly. You can see here that Jocelyn has a total of 3 reviews with an average star rating of 3.7 out of 5. Not bad, Jocelyn. Doing good work. It's nearly 4 stars, right? Sorry. Okay, let's get into some more science though. The research actually tells us that's probably actually the opposite. So nearly 60% of consumers won't use a business with fewer than 4 stars. Okay, so even if you contact them, they probably won't be contacted with less than 10 reviews. This is all back to that trust, that inferred part of that volume. And the opportunity here that is lost talks about lost visibility or calls or just general, flat out revenue, not establishing that trust. So go have a beautiful chicken sandwich at Jocelyn's sandwich joint and leave another review. She deserves it. That's right. Okay. So basically, by not having a solid reputation strategy and leaving this to chance in the Google sphere, you're potentially losing customers, while maybe another competitor that has a plan of action could be taking that away from you. So we don't always want the consumer or your clients to control the conversation. We want it to be part of that conversation and have an equal voice there. And I will leave my myriad of rambles here with that, because I do want to get some questions and maybe what it is you can do to help manage that reputation. So I thank you for allowing me to kick off the foundational side of what this all means. And I apologize if I'm a little geeky on you. This stuff gets me excited. And again, all stuff that can easily or can be thoughtfully done without the likes of needing a team like ours, but can certainly help overall actual presence. All right, Jocelyn. Hi.
Hi, that was great. Thank you so much for being here. And I think, Tony, that you received the award for maybe the shortest presentation with the most information. So that's awesome. So we have plenty of time for questions. I fully admit that there are no questions in the Q&A right now, but we have a lot of people who seem to be, they responded to your request for where they're from and what they're, the organization that they represent. So there's a lot of people, it seems like, from the nonprofit world. There is quite a few people that work in the corporate side of things, maybe not necessarily entrepreneurs, but are being entrepreneurial inside of their company and trying to hone in their skills. So a question that I have for you is there a particular person or position that really, so say I'm really like a 5-person operation, there's only a few of us and we're running a business all day. So, what are some things I should prioritize? Who should be working on this? Is this something I can hire an intern to do? How hard is it?
Right. Yeah. I think with all of this, at least in our experience, is that it could be really easily overwhelming, and it doesn't have to be. Again, not just for the part of this series in the Google side of things, but I think if we just take off little chunks at a time, Google is a great place to start. Other topics we're going to cover in this series go through and really refine how to maintain that digital footprint as it relates to all Google listings with Google My Business. So again, it's a free item. Ryan is going to cover that at the tail end of this series, but basically, I would go in and just start claiming actual profiles. So when you do an actual search for your business, you can actually see this come up on the right-hand side of your screen in Google. Do I have a Google My Business page would be a great place to start. The person that could do that really could be anyone. It just I think requires a good afternoon to kind of get focused on some marching orders. In typical organizations that I see, it would be someone that deals on that marketing side. So it doesn't necessarily need to be someone with a tech background. Google over the years specifically has gotten a little bit more user-friendly in how those profiles are maintained. So I think the best place to start is just realizing you have profiles online that you probably don't even realize you have, and just going through where you think customers are finding you first. And I'd start with a Google My Business and just walking through that wizard of filling out and verifying basic information about your business to generally help.
So for those of you that are new to our series, well, this is a new series, but new to the webinars that we host, I did just drop into the chat a link to our YouTube channel, specifically to a session that we had in December with Ryan Hertel, who Tony keeps referencing, the founder of Social Loca, another digital marketing agency. Ryan and I did a presentation in December, specifically on Google My Business. We're doing a recap of that again at the end of this section. That'll be in March. At the end of this series, that'll be in March. So if you want to brush up on Google My Business, if you don't want to wait until the very end of our current web series and you want to see what we talked about in December, feel free to go over to that YouTube link and check out the conversation that Ryan and I had in December. So we do have a question here. If you do a Google, this is from Jamie. If you do a Google search, there is a section called People Also Ask. Is there a way to influence or change some of those questions?
There's a few ways to do this. I think specifically, there's two ways. I think one to start would be, by the way, I think the other side is that's assuming that Google allows us into the recipe that is that sphere of all that is them, that they know all. But I would start with filling out proper filtering tabs and service areas and actual offerings to fully populate your Google My Business listing. What you see when you're searching, which I think is what you're referring for, is that the like businesses. So if it's like a near me side of things, so it's burger joints near me, Jocelyn's will come up, but maybe that other one, that Chick-fil-A, might also come up as well, because Google is just talking about actual topic and context. So are you showing me a visual here? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm just I'm bringing up a Google My Business listing so that everybody can see.
Perfect. Yeah. So I think with that is just working on actual content, and oftentimes in the search for side, it certainly is most likely an actual direct competitor. But with that, I think comes the side of where reviews win all day long. Interaction wins all day long, and content is king of just showing the viability, the live part of the site, so that you can actually be ranking with that. I apologize. There's some random phone that keeps ringing here. Questions are coming in off the phone lines. Okay, yeah, you can put them in the chat.
So we did have another question. When creating a Google My Business, how does Google know you are the actual business so they can confirm who you say you are? That's a great question. That's from Melissa Frederick. And again,
Melissa, great question.
We will talk in depth about this at the end of this series, but Tony, if you want to kind of give the high level view of what Google does, that would be great.
Yeah, so there's two ways to verify a listing. What essentially happens, as we talked about just a little bit earlier, is Google is scraping raw database information of just basic indicators. So address, what it thinks the phone number is, what it thinks the topic is from a variety of directories if they don't have that actual information. You may have a profile of Google My Business if you haven't claimed it yet that is already assumed as to what would be correct. If it's not something that you've actually started with, you'll see a thing as, is this your business? From that point, once you follow that lovely area of flow, you have two options to verify and claim that it is yours. So if the phone number is correct in the profile, Google has an automated system that you go through this process, and it will say, hey, we're going to call you at X time, or we're going to offer some support here, and it will kind of match that with a code that it gives you as it verifies from the phone side. More often than not, I work with a lot of client partners that have a lot of conflicting information. This is really difficult, that a phone number goes to this automated area, or it's going to a call center that's going somewhere else, and it gets really convoluted. The best way that I typically get verification, although it is slower, is Google actually sends a snail mail postcard with some information to what it believes to be the actual address. So you go through the same wizard process. Here's how I want to verify. Please send it to this address. I swear it's me. Mail gets delivered, and you match up a code, and that is how you get verified to actually show that it's yours. Coincidentally, if you have a profile that you believe is actually a full thing that is not yours, you just need to report that to Google. I'm not sure why, but crazier things have happened. But postcard, snail mail usually comes within a week. It's not that immediate gratification, and the irony of all of that. But yeah, that's the best way to get verified.
So another question, we talked a lot about reviews and the importance of reviews for your online reputation. If somebody leaves a bad Google review, is there anything that you can do? What should you do with a bad Google review? How can you turn that around?
Yeah, this I could talk about for the next 27 million hours. I
asked.
I love your business. Yes. So unfortunately, you can't do a whole lot. So the only person that could change a review, whether it be on Google or a variety of the Yelp sites of the world, is the person that left it. Within, there's an asterisk there, of course. You can't take it down. What you can do is suppress it with raving fans. So often what I coach client partners on doing is just fire up their own fan base, and hey, that was probably some inconsistency that was that 1 or 2 star. Let's start asking our great people that experience the sandwich joint every day and enjoy their Jocelyn's burger. Let's actually ask them for a valid review and tell the good truth. So the best way that I deal with a bad review is, one, you must respond to every review, even if it's horrible, even if it's great. It just shows that live activity, that back to Google being your friend. It's something that's an active page. So you're likely to still rank higher because there's activity going back and forth, but you must review. Asterisk there, don't review with any personal, take a breather. if it's a bad review, don't make it personal and have a friend read it before you post that thing again, because you don't want to get in a back and forth on any crazy that is an actual review. It wants to be thought out with that. You can, however, edit your part of the review of your response. You can't edit what they have said. So that's one part. I would then require or ask to, again, just suppress that poor review with just a positive energy of just more volume of higher reviews.
So I brought up on the screen really quick, we don't have a ton of reviews for the CAN BE Innovation Center, but that's something else that we could talk about is it appropriate to solicit for reviews? So in my experience, I have found if somebody had a good experience with our organization, I've said, thank you so much for the feedback. Here's a link to our Google My Business page. Would you consider leaving a review for us? Now, obviously in my, in business incubation, I can't really offer any type of promotion or discount code or anything like that. But if you are a for-profit organization that's selling something or has a good or service, how can you interact with your customer base that might encourage them to leave a review?
Yeah, it's interesting because I went through the chat to see the varying nature of business services and goods here. It's odd for someone in our business, which is purely service, to directly go and ask in a direct way of hey review me, because they're not really reviewing a widget necessarily. So it's a different ask. I would recommend exactly what you suggested as far as pointing to the Google review. I would not recommend. And it's kind of frowned upon, and these thoughts have evolved over the years, but you can offer some incentive for a review, but I don't think it should be directly related to, like, get this $25 Visa card when you tell me that I'm a 5-star person. It comes off as not authentic. So there's a balance there of an incentive. I think it's just in the way in which you manage that ask. There's a variety of services also that actually perform a function. So services that we work with client partners on that might kind of rotate throughout every month. So 1 month it may be, I'm going to go get some reviews on Google My Business. The next month might be Facebook. The next month might be Yelp. And it's all the same link that you're referring to. So something you could just put in the signature of your email, or some automated, if you're doing any funnel of different drip campaigns or other things you can do online, or just a pure thank you, a quick link to make it a no-brainer, easy side. Oftentimes reviews get lost in the depths and bowels of email that no one sees the light of day, and unfortunately have no rank. It is that awkward point of, wow, I'm so glad you said that very nice thing to me on this email. Would you also want to say it here? Because you can't post it on their behalf necessarily, of that, or that won't necessarily help your rank. So I would encourage the path of least resistance to directly point them to the Facebook side of things, to the Yelp side of things, to the Googles with that. And Jocelyn, you're doing it perfectly correct with that link, even without an incentive.
Yeah, and I asked that question it was a little bit of a loaded question because I think that sometimes people do feel the need to give something to get something. And a lot of times you don't need to. If somebody's expressing positive feedback, then it's easy enough to direct them to give a review somewhere. Or if you have some type of a CRM system that is managing sales or customer experiences or something of that nature, you can set, if it's an automated system, you can set some type of reminder that maybe a week after a purchase that they get an email, whether you send it or it's automated, saying, thank you so much for your purchase last week. Would love to hear about your experience. Now, you're also soliciting the opportunity for a bad review by doing something like that, but it's an honest review.
Yeah, and I think honestly, there's I and you probably are the same way. I trust if someone has straight across the board 5-star review, something that, like, I just feel like my mom is the one that wrote all of the reviews if they're all 5 stars. So it shows that it's not authentic. That it's good. It's fine to have a 1 or 2. I think where this everything we spoke of earlier today is all in volume and all that's something that's topical. So Google looks for something that is something that's recent. So you can have a great 5-star review from 2014. It's not going to hold as much weight now because it's not an accurate representation of what your business is today. So this is why it's always an ongoing effort to keep this circle moving, to keep that page active of a recent review, but have it in volume. And it's okay when that volume happens if there's a 1 or 2 star in there. It does make it more real.
So I'm just gonna share my screen again, and she's not on this call, which is why I'm doing this. But this is one of CAN BE's clients. We worked with Halogen Hair Company to get their salon off the ground. And this is a very real story that has happened recently. So as you can see, Halogen has a 4.8 star rating, most of which are 5-star reviews. If you go to their Google, if you actually look at the reviews, most of them are 5 stars. Where you start to see the score goes down is because they received one star review. So they lost a little bit of points there. So the founder and owner of Halogen Hair Company called me when she received this bad review, and she said, I'm going to send you my response to this because I don't know if I am being emotional, to Tony's point earlier. So she sent it to me. There were some things that I suggested changing. It was a little aggressive, but she responded to not just the good reviews, but she responded to this bad review. Now, at the end of the day, is that going to stop the bad reviews? Of course not. Is she going to keep that client that gave her 1-star review? Probably not. Probably not going to walk back through the doors. But let's say if it was a one-off experience, maybe by hearing back from a representative of the organization explaining why there was some type of a miscommunication or a problem with their experience, you can invite them back, right? You could say, my name is Jocelyn. I'm the manager here. Please, if you come through again, please let me know. I'll make sure you have a great experience the next time you're here. So it's a really good thing to communicate with those people. Oh, we have some
and I think people don't. Yeah.
We have some people saying
I would say just to that point.
Their hair done there.
Well, you all look fabulous. You all look fabulous. But yeah, no, I think to that point. I was going to say it's looking great. But I think people don't expect to get a response, right? Because everyone's lived behind this like screen, and I could say whatever, and to be able to see a history of reviews that there's actual humans behind the screen responding. That's really, people just want to be heard. Again, back to that person walked into the lobby and was talking about it. How would you handle that? People just want to be heard in that interaction, and you can still make it authentic and help. And I think by people that are ready to write that new review that may be poor, we'll see that history, that there is some interaction, and I think it might also curate how they respond or what their actual strong wording may be when they know that's an active managed page.
So I don't have any other questions. So, we are winding down on our time. If anybody has questions, please drop them in the chat. I did notice that there was somebody with their hand raised. So I don't know if that was an accident or not. I'm going to allow you to speak, Vito, if that is you. If you had a question and you wanted to ask it, you can take yourself off mute. Otherwise, I will. Yeah, there we go.
It was totally accidental, but your hair does look great, by the way. Just wanted to let you know.
Oh, thanks, Vito. Thank you. Thank you. Oh,
everybody that's on the webinar, Vito is one of our other speakers. He will be coming in March to talk about Google Ads. So thank you for being on, Vito. We're excited for your session in March.
My absolute pleasure. Great job today, Tony.
Thanks, Vito. Can't wait to see your session.
Thank you.
So I am going to mute you. And all right. So,
which, by the way, just to the point on for Vito's topic, especially if you're going to put any paid money towards this, which I know he'll cover, any paid effort, you got to get the house in order first. Otherwise, you are just throwing away money without having an accurate return on the basics of this foundation before you start spending any money to advertise your product. So that's all. Okay.
No, that you're absolutely right. So what I'm going to bring up real quick, I'm sorry, it looks like I'm looking off the screen. That's because I have two. I'm going to share my screen fast. This is just a rundown of what we have coming up for the other sessions. So I encourage everybody to join us every Tuesday for the next, I guess, 4 more weeks. Next week is actually going to be me, so I won't be moderating. I will actually be presenting. We'll be talking about Google Drive and some of the ways that you can use a free file sharing program, as well as Google Docs and Google Sheets and all of these things. Gone are the days where you have to purchase a Microsoft Office suite. Google now offers all of those tools for free as part of their Google Business system. So we'll be talking about that next week. And then on March 2nd, we will be working with Vito, who will be talking about Google Ads. After that, we have Mike Jeske from Deca Studios, who'll be talking about Google Analytics, which is another really important way to find out keywords, right? So if you are trying to target ads, you really need to understand how people are searching you and what they're searching and what queries they're looking for. So if you're going to tune into both of those, they're really good ones to be on. And last but not least is our friend Ryan Hertel from Socialoka, who will be talking about Google My Business and doing a recap from our December session. I do have one Q&A. Let's see, Jocelyn, will we receive an updated calendar invite for each week? So Ruth, great question. You do have to register for each one of the sessions through our Chamber of Commerce website, where you would have registered for this one. I'll give you an insider tip though. It's the same Zoom link for each week. So if you just click the Zoom link that you clicked today, you're going to be able to access all of our sessions without registering. But we do ask that you register so we can keep track of the data for each one and how many people participate. A Chamber is our great partner with us, and we like to continue to give them as much kudos as they deserve. So as many kudos as they deserve. Let's see. Ruth said, thank you. Okay, awesome. Last chance for any other questions. Otherwise, I will bid you all adieu. Thank you very much, Tony, for being here. Does not look like we're getting any more questions, so I think we can wrap it up.
Awesome. This was a lot of fun. Please reach out with any questions that may come up. And it was great seeing you, Jocelyn. Great hair. Yay. And I'll continue. I'm going to go find one of those sandwiches. So thank you very much.
Go to Chick-fil-A. That's where I got that sandwich. All right. Thank you so much, Tony. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We'll see you again next Tuesday when we talk about Google Sheets and Google Tools.